All put behind her that was once her life, all welcomed that henceforth was his and hers. She abode with Satyavan in the wild woods. Priceless, she deemed her joy so close to death. Apart with love, she lived for love alone.
For. She lived for, not for.
Apart,
That's the habit we get into.
apart with love, she lived for love alone.
Very good. So we see that we've talked about Satyavan being man's representative in the house of God. She's living with him. She's living for love alone. At this point, she's not living for transcendence or finding the truth of her existence. She's just living for love alone with her beloved. I mean, it's been so long since she had seen him because she was at the palace and she had to leave, and now she's fine. She's with him again. I'm trying to get this correct then. Okay. Now, so we know there is a march of days. There's no problem. The days keep marching on in all of our lives. And what do we do with them? Well, not so much, unfortunately. Most of them are the salt waste of the endless years, as I was just reading to Shilpa. So, anyway, Savitri is with him and she's living for love alone. So, let's continue.
As if self poised above the march of days, her immobile spirit watched the haste of time. A
Yes,
statue.
but yeah, but you're not quite getting that rhythm.
I don't
As if,
understand the lines, like
okay,
as if.
that's fine. Okay, so these are the questions I need you to ask me.
Yes.
Okay, so Savitri here is self-poised. She's in a state of balance. She doesn't need any support. She's in command of herself.
Mhm.
As if Sri Aurobindo's famous as if we see so many times in Savitri. As if. As if poised. In other words, maybe not, but as if poised above the march of days, the movement of the days, the passing of the days. Her immobile spirit, she has an immobile spirit, and that spirit is watching this speed, this haste of time. And why is it doing that? Well, it's immobile, it's fixed, it's stationary, it's motionless. It's not able to move. We're not able to move. She's not able to move it. It's immobile. Her immobile spirit watched the haste of time. Now we have to move on because there is a description here of Savitri which is so powerful, and I'd like you to get that feeling of it.
As if self poised above the march of days, her immobile spirit watched the haste of time. A statue of passion and invincible force, an absolutism of sweet imperious will, a tranquillity and a violence of the gods, indomitable and immutable.
Much better reading. Good, good. So let's see about these things now. We have a statue of passion. Obviously, passion is a huge thing in a young girl's life. But she's a statue of this passion. And she's a statue of this invincible force, this force that's unconquerable. Now, an absolutism is an absolute standard or principle of sweet imperious. Imperious is sovereign or majestic. So she's a statue of passion. She's an invincible force. She's an absolutism of sweet imperious will, and she's a tranquility and a violence of the gods. Here again, Sri Aurobindo is giving us these paradoxical statements. How can you be a tranquility and a violence? But because we know a little bit about the yoga, we can understand that.
Hmm.
Indomitable, unconquerable, unvanquished, immutable, not subject to change. So now we're going to see about her. I'm going to try to get this thing a little bit better here. I think I got it now. Okay, so carry on because this is very, very important. It's giving us a preview of what's going to happen. Okay.
At first to her, beneath the sapphire heavens, the sylvan solitude was a gorgeous dream, an altar of the summer's splendor, fire, a sky-topped, flower-hung palace of the gods, and all its scenes a smile on rapture's lips, and all its voices bards of happiness.
Wow, isn't that nice? Wouldn't we like that every day? Okay, so here we go now. Um, at first, okay, it's only at first now, because the sadness, the realization of his dying has not come in yet.
Mm,
She's still loving him for love. At first to her, beneath the sapphire heavens, the sylvan is in the woods,
mm,
the sylvan solitude, because, they're out in nowhere.
mm.
They're surrounded by trees and iron mountains, he calls them. He doesn't even say beautiful mountains, he calls them iron mountains. But everything is perfect for her because she's with Sachaman. So the sylvan solitude was a gorgeous dream. It's even an altar of the summer's splendor and fire. It's even the sky-topped, flower-hung palace of the gods. And all its scenes a smile on Rapture's lips, this ecstasy on Rapture's lips. And all its voices, the voices of this forest, this hermitage, bards of happiness, poets of happiness. I think no questions here, right? We can move
Yes.
on. Good.
Yeah. There was a chanting in the casual wind. There was a glory in the least sunbeam. Night was a
Christ of praise. Christ of praise.
chrysoprase on velvet cloth, a nestling darkness or a moonlit deep. Day was a purple pageant and a hymn, a wave of the laughter of light from morn to eve.
Yeah, it's a bit to cover here now. Okay. First of all, she hears. I would phrase the line a little differently than you, and not accent was so strongly. There was a chanting in the casual wind. There was a glory in the least. Not there was a chanting in the casual wind. Got the difference. Okay.
Yes, I understand.
So she's got this, she hears this chanting in the casual wind. She sees this glory in the least sunbeam. She feels that glory. She even sees it. And night was a chrysoprase on velvet cloth. Now, a chrysoprase is a semi-precious stone,
Mhm.
and it's sort of a bright apple green color. And it was valuable in ancient times because it shone in the dark. So night was a chrysoprase. Oh, how beautiful. It was even a nestling darkness, a, a snug darkness like a bird in a nest, a nestling darkness or a moonlit deep. Day was a purple pageant and a hymn. And I want to talk to you a little bit about this word purple
Hmm.
because it's important to Sri Aurobindo. And in his letters with Amal Kiran, Amal asks him about this purple color, which we know is an imperial color. It's a regal color. It's even a
Hmm.
princely color because all the great kings and leaders
Hmm.
in the ancient times and even present times at times, they wear purple
Hmm.
robes. You see it. You see it even in the religious Catholic uh, planes. So Sri Aurobindo is referring to a line from two lines from Virgil, and I'll read them out. Largio hic campo et lumine vestit, purpurio solemque sum sua sidera norunt. And Sri Aurobindo writes, here is an ampler ether. Here an ampler ether spreads over the plains and clothes them in purple light. And they have a sun of their own and their own stars. Now, Sri Aurobindo, in his letter on Savitri to Amal, says, I don't know, and then there's a bracket, what plane is spoken of by Virgil, but purple is the light of the vital. It may have been one of the vital heavens he was thinking of.
Hmm.
The ancients saw the vital heavens as the highest, and most of the religions have also done the same. Isn't this interesting? See?
Hmm.
I have used the suggestion of Virgil to insert a needed line. Oh. So we have in letters in Sri Aurobindo's words, and griefless countries under purple suns. That's another line. Day was a purple pageant and a hymn, which we've just read. Now, the pageant, of course, is the splendor, the grandeur. A wave of laughter of light, a wave of the laughter of light from morn to eve. You see how perfect her life is here.
Utter
And
bliss.
we're going to find out what happens now. Continuing on, his absence.
His absence was a dream of memory. His presence was the empire of a god.
What more can one say about one's partner, one's answering soul? And he's going to continue now to discuss this.
A fusing of the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past,
Yes,
a rushing.
but you almost made heaven a full stop.
Okay, I'll reread that.
Good,
A,
good.
a fusing of the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past, a rushing of two spirits to be one, a burning of two bodies in one flame.
And Sri Aurobindo couldn't write beautiful romantic poetry. Wow. Okay. Satyavan's absence was a dream of memory. How marvelous. His presence was the empire of a god. a fusing, becoming united as if melting together, a fusing of the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past. A nuptial, of course, is marriage, wedding ceremony. And tremulous is quivering or shakings. For her, it's sort of, she's shaking also in this love. It's so powerful because when he's away, he's just a dream of memory. But what a dream of memory. When he comes back, it sees the empire of a god.
Mm.
And this fusing of the joys of earth and heaven are also important to her. And this tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past, a rushing of two spirits to be one, a burning of two bodies in one flame, and a little bit more, and then it's going to change.
Opened were gates of unforgettable bliss. Two lives were locked within an earthly heaven, and fate and grief fled from that fiery hour.
So the gates of unforgettable bliss are opened. How extraordinary. And these two lives were locked, but not in an upper heaven, in an earthly heaven. The heaven here is being with him, no matter where. Hermitage, forest, doesn't matter. Therefore, fate and grief fled from that fiery hour. Look at the alliteration. Fate fled fiery.
Yes.
Beautiful. And now it changes.
But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath, and throngs of blue-black clouds crept through the sky, and rain fled sobbing over the dripping leaves, and storm became the forest's titan voice.
Wow. So they're not together for that long, obviously.
Mhm.
Just, we don't know how long. He doesn't tell us how long. But she had to return from the palace of her parents. She had to take that long trip in the carriage drawn by horses, find him, and then go back to her family and tell them that she had chosen him. Then come
Mm.
back again to the hermitage and have this time of an earthly heaven with his life and hers. But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath. Here, ardent, I would say, is intensely glowing with passion, but also hot, burning, fiery. I mean, the summer, the end of the summer can be very hot.
Mm.
And this is in North India. So I
Mm.
think North India is even hotter, although less humidity.
Yes.
But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath. And what happens? Throngs, multitudes of blue black clouds crept through the sky. Look how he tells us these throngs of blue black clouds creeping through the sky. And therefore, rain fled sobbing over the dripping leaves, and storm became the forest's Titan voice. Here, Titan is not capitalized. So we're very clear that it's just prodigious,
Mm.
enormous, immense. So I have to make an attempt to go to the next page, which has not been so easy for me without being at home. And I don't know how to get there, but you can help me. Okay, so Then listening to the thunder's fatal
Then,
crash.
yes.
Go ahead.
Then listening to the thunder's fatal crash and the fugitive pattering footsteps of the showers and the long unsatisfied panting of the wind and sorrow muttering in the sound vexed night, the grief of all the world came near to her.
Now, because I can you tell me how to get to the next page?
Are you on you're on your iPad?
iPad, yes.
Yes, if there would be an arrow to go back in the documents.
In the documents.
Yes, I think at the top there would be on the top left corner, there might be an arrow to go back.
Yeah. And to files. Ah, okay.
Yes,
I
and
got
then
it.
page 469.
Got it. Yes, very good. Okay. Now, the fugitive pattering footsteps of the showers. Just contemplate that in your mind. Fugitive, fugitive running away or fleeing someone, or somewhat ephemeral or lasting only a short time. The fugitive pattering footsteps of the showers, and the long, unsatisfied panting of the wind, and sorrow. Sorrow comes in now for the first time, muttering in the sound vexed night. Vexed is irritated or annoyed. I've been vexed by this person, blah, blah, blah. And therefore, the grief of all the world came near to her.
All put behind her that was once her life, all welcomed that henceforth was his and hers. She abode with Satyavan in the wild woods. Priceless she deemed her joy, so close to death. Apart with love, she lived for love alone. As if self poised above the march of days, her immobile spirit watched the haste of time, a statue of passion and invincible force, an absolutism of sweet, imperious will, a tranquillity and a violence of the gods, indomitable and immutable. At first to her beneath the sapphire heavens, the sylvan solitude was a gorgeous dream, an altar of the summer's splendor and fire, a sky-topped, flower-hung palace of the gods, and all its scenes a smile on rapture's lips, and all its voices bards of happiness. There was a chanting in the casual wind. There was a glory in the least sunbeam. Night was a chrysoprase on velvet cloth.
I think it's chrysoprase, but
Chryso.
it could be chrysoprase. We can look it up. Yeah, another time.
Yes. Night was a chrysoprase on velvet cloth, a nestling darkness or a moonlit deep. Day was a purple pageant and a hymn, a wave of the laughter of light from morn to eve. His absence was a dream of memory. His presence was the empire of a god, a fusing of the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past, a rushing of two spirits to be one, a burning of two bodies in one flame. Opened were gates of unforgettable bliss. Two lives were locked within an earthly heaven, and fate and grief fled from that fiery hour. But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath, and throngs of blue black clouds crept through the sky, and rain fled, sobbing over the dripping leaves, and storm became the forest's titan voice. Then, listening to the thunder's fatal crash, and the fugitive pattering footsteps of the showers, and the long unsatisfied panting of the wind, and sorrow muttering in the sound vexed night, the grief of all the world came near to her.
Well, you read with more emotion today, and I'm happy to hear that. I
Okay.
have only one thing that I wanted to say,
Yes.
and that was, let me find it here, empire.
Mhm.
His presence was the empire of a god, not empire.
Oh, empire. All right.
Yes,
His presence was the empire of a god.
wonderful.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank
see
you.
you
See you
next
next
week.
week. Thank you.
Yeah,
Namaste.
very, very good. Very
Thank
good.
you. It was good to see you. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.